Donald Trump doesn't care about the truth in South Africa. In fact, he might know exactly what's happening, and he's using it as a pretext for something much bigger. The expropriation bill. That's not his real concern. The asylum offer? A political stunt. This isn't about human rights, it's about global power. Because behind all the noise, one thing is clear. South Africa isn't just a country in Trump's crosshairs, it's a battleground in a much bigger war. Remember, Trump built his presidency on one thing: shutting down immigration. Within days of taking office, he enforced some of the harshest immigration policies in U.S. history. So why would the same man suddenly carve out an exception for white South Africans? Why would he offer them asylum, despite no evidence of widespread persecution? Because Trump knows that offer will never be taken up. That's not the point. The point is to create a crisis, to push South Africa into a corner. And if you follow the breadcrumbs, they lead to one place. BRICS. Since the end of World War II and the Cold War, the United States has held its place as the world's dominant superpower. But now, that dominance is being challenged by China. And here's the thing about great powers. They don't stay in their lane. They can't afford to. To maintain control, they have to expand their influence, pull nations into their orbit, and secure economic and strategic alliances. That's exactly what the U.S. has done for decades, through NATO, the IMF, and trade agreements, keeping the global economy under its control. But now, China is doing the same, through BRICS. What started as an economic bloc is now a geopolitical tool, giving China a way to reshape global trade, challenge Western financial dominance, and pull entire regions into its sphere of influence. For the U.S., this isn't just competition. It's an existential threat to its dominance. And in the fight for global dominance, there's one battleground no superpower can ignore: Africa. Africa is the world's next economic frontier, a continent rich with over 30% of the planet's minerals, a booming young workforce, and some of the fastest-growing economies in the world. But here's the problem. Africa is already slipping into China's orbit. More and more African nations are joining BRICS or signaling their intent to, a shift that threatens to push the U.S. out of its traditional sphere of influence. And for a global superpower, that's not an option. To fight back, the U.S. must use the same playbook China is using to expand its influence. And that brings us to South Africa. South Africa isn't just any African country, it's the gateway to the continent, the economic and political trendsetter for Africa. No superpower can truly dominate Africa without securing South Africa's allegiance. And that's exactly why, despite its economic struggles, South Africa remains a core BRICS member. Because even with its challenges, it's still Africa's superpower. So what happens if South Africa starts to drift toward China? You bring it back in line. You apply political and economic pressure. You send a message, not just to South Africa, but to every other African nation watching. Because if South Africa pays the price for choosing China, other nations will think twice before deepening BRICS ties, and by extension, China's grip on the continent. But how exactly does the go after South Africa strategy work?